I'm saying that this is a grand opportunity for the church to respond in a positive way, in the sense of understanding that God is concerned about people. And the scripture states Jesus came to seek to save that which is lost. And seeing that there's a catchment out there where people are coming from Venezuela, right? I am thinking, well, that's a good way to really see how we could convey the gospel by ministering to people. And using the platform of trying to help these people, creating, well, number one, that spiritual aspect, and also wherever we can help socially.
Now, our relationship with Venezuela is nothing new. As a matter of fact, there are many churches in Trinidad and Tobago that are Spanish-speaking churches, or they have like groups within churches. And even when they had the National Day of Prayer, Open Bible on the Hill, there were many members of from Venezuela and different other countries who were there as part of the event. Have you had a chance to meet with other leaders to talk about a response? Is this, or whether it be informal or formal?
Not really to say that we have met with leaders to say that, see how we can, seeing it, that this is an emergency, and maybe as time goes by. But the idea, the thought, have been coming to my mind that I find personally that I should really try and say I could do something, and even from our church perspective, I'm thinking about that, and I feel that because wherever you go now, you're actually seeing a lot of Venezuelans. And I'm saying, these people are here and they need help. I responded, somebody was saying something the other day, and I'm saying, we have to help them because that could happen to us. And if you look not only Venezuela, but you will see that there's a whole, in the world, there's a lot of human movement. Because when crisis takes place within your country, people looking for survival. And somebody told me that in Europe, that it's a good opportunity for the church to really, convey the gospel even to those who are Muslims and so on, because they are leaving their countries and they're going to Europe, right? Whereby it might be difficult to go to their countries, they're coming right in your, right before you, so you can minister. So I'm saying that as a church, we should take the advantage and open our arms and see how we could holistically minister to these people.
Now, when we say the church, we're not just referring to the leadership, we're referring to the body, everyone, right?
Yeah, I'm referring to the body.
Do you think that, I hear a lot of believers talk, I will do this and I'll do that, but when the pressure really comes and we're tested, we tend to repel. Looking at the church now, and I'm saying church in terms of locally, do you think that the people, that they are really ready to respond in this humanitarian effort, bring them in their homes, and we go to school, Bible school, and we do missions, and we say, yeah, we're ready. And then when God says, okay, if cool, you did missions, I'm going to test you now. And then time comes. Is the church mature enough in Trinidad and Tobago to deal with these things? I think that's my question.
Coach, but that's a hard question.
It's an honest question because we're being, in my opinion, we're being tested. That's
I don't think that majority of us might be really ready to go to that level.
Okay.
But seeing that, I believe that to the whole idea of compassion, Trinidad would have responded not only towards with this present situation, but last year with the things with the natural disaster. Trinidadians really, responded, and that shows that the kind of people that we are. Maybe it's a new test for us as a nation to start opening up our. There are persons who will do that, but in that great degree, to see how we can open up our homes to really house people, like if the need arises.
The need arises. There have been, not in this situation alone, but in past as well, that the church is not called on enough to help deal with national matters. Do you agree?
Yes. Again, these are questions that I get answered to certain degrees, because national, there are some parachurch organizations,
right? Okay.
Right, who are, I will say, they are very much heavily involved. For instance, we have ICNAC, my dear friend and sister, Avenel Hector, Joseph, and you'll have one or two other persons who already on the ground for years, who will just respond in disasters and so on. And sometimes even locally when we have floods and so on, people respond. Right, I remember even even the flood that we had, those floods recently, right? It seemed like if God has been preparing us as a nation because people really responded.
That is true.
Right?
You think that there has been something that has been happening in it,
yeah. Because sometimes we could start. I trying to see if I could have a balanced view.
Of course.
And, of looking at these crises and so on. Maybe as we were talking before, there are prophetic words that have gone out towards Trinidad, and one of those would have been Trinidad has been called to be a beacon to the Caribbean, right? And God is sovereign. Sometimes we look at the negative side, but God is sovereign. I like to say God is the greatest strategist out. And God knows how to really, how to shift gears and make things happen.
True.
So then, number one, you had the flood last year, and God actually started preparing the minds of
the hearts of
the
people,
nation how to respond.
True.
Right? Because again, some people really responded.
They did.
They really responded. Yeah, businesses, people gave and so on, right? So now with the whole Venezuela situation, right? I believe maybe that is our next way of God now proving himself that he is God, that he's actually fulfilling the prophetic word towards Trinidad. You'll be the beacon. Now, some people might be able to watch it from a negative side, but God, I realize you can't trap down God. You can't box down God. And if God said that this nation will be used as a beacon, I believe that God could use whatever he wants to be used for his kingdom.
And that is a very fitting, how you contextualize that, because you're correct. I do believe what you say, God is preparing our hearts for something bigger.
Yeah.
And we responded well. So, I really pray that that we respond the same way. I just want to just shift gears just for a few minutes into some other matters, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And this would be the accident yesterday.
Oh.
And again, I don't want people to take it, we have the 9-day syndrome. We grieve today, we grieve tomorrow, and then we just throw it behind our back. To me, and this is just me here, this is something that, like all the others, we need to hear what God is saying in the midst of. As a leader, and I'm sure these are things that you would have encountered in your congregation and different places to go, whether it be murder, whether it be accidents. What is God saying to us, Pastor? What do you believe God is saying to us in light of the carnage and the murders and the things that we're seeing? We have, I think the murder toll right now is 50, 51. We haven't even made a good month and a half.
Well, after having come out from battling for many years within the Move and Love until East Port of Spain communities with our faith-based NGO Operation Salvation, and so many negative things would have happened in respect of murders and so on. And yes, our country, we have our challenges. Somebody said something some years ago that remained in me and its programmed in my subconscious, is that there was a preacher, Apostle Duncan, brought, and he was on one of the network. And he said, I have traveled all over the world ministering. I have never experienced something like this. This nation, you have strong spiritual people for God, and you have strong spiritual people for the kingdom of darkness. This is like a battleground.
Wow.
And that remained with me. And we must understand there is something unique about Trinidad. I believe that Trinidad is viewed a lot, and not only by the drug lords, but by the kingdom of God and also the kingdom of darkness, based on where we located. And when you watch a lot of things that came out of Trinidad, for instance, our resources, our talents, and so on.
It will be targeted.
Right. So I would like to say that in spite of the crime and different things that are happening in our nation, I believe as leaders, and even as a church, we have to be cognizant of the spiritual realm, what God is saying, and take direction. It's a minute by minute, a day by day, allowing God to navigate us. that some of these things have or most of these things, they have a spiritual connotation behind those things, right? And because there are so many evil happening within our nation, right? And yes, there are great people who are actually producing God's will in our nation. There's a battle. And we have to keep remaining on the walls, praying and interceding and hearing what God is saying and whatever we need to do in the physical realm. There are things, you and I have to do as a church. Continue working in our communities, going beyond. I like to see the cold breeze, having good times in the church. We have to go out, because if we don't go, the enemy will go.
You have been, as you mentioned, in the trenches in areas that some people will, won't even want to step in, as the case may be. And I mentioned earlier about Ezekiel 22:30, about, if I can find one person in the gap, and I found none. And, we know of another part of scripture that speaks about a nation was saved because of one man. I'm saying that to say that, we have, as you rightly said, strong spiritual people are praying. But as a leader, Pastor Caines, do you sometimes get weary? Do you sometimes, because you're a man, you're a human, and there's that side. I hear people say sometimes, I heard recently in a conference, some leaders said, I get weary. And there's also the concern of passing on the baton to younger ones coming up. Does it concern you?
To be honest, looking back, I will say way back, in fighting in the northeast Port of Spain communities, there are times you will feel weary because you'll have done online premier, gone in the communities and somebody get gunned down. And by the way, Laventille over these areas, they are now about number 5 or number 6 in the whole tide of crime. You hardly hear people get killed now.
That is very true.
And I thank God for all those who have really, battle and network together with us, together with, and also I must highlight the Hearts and Minds, the IATF, from the Protective Services. They have been really much in the trenches, work with us too.
That's nice.
Right. But right now, to be honest, because of my experiences,
you've been there.
I'm ready for the challenge. Come on hotter, I'm going to increase it harder.
And I think that's really encouraging to hear for those who are now coming up as young men and young women, and they feel like, how do you all do it? How do you all stay strong? If there was one scripture that you hold on to that really gives you that drive to just keep going, what would that scripture? I mean, I know there are many. Yes,
there are many scriptures,
But let's say top 2 in your mind that jumps out at you right now.
One of the things that I love Joshua chapter 1. I build a lot on that. God told Joshua, I've given you the land. Anywhere you put your foot shall be yours. And I sort of inculcate that within my whole, my whole belief system. And that propels me. I believe that we are serving a sovereign God. And all God wants, he just wants a platform. He wants somebody to give him the opportunity. And he said, he's calling her Joshua or Esther. And anywhere you put your foot, God say will be yours. I remember battling in those tough areas in Mover Laventille. And that is how I started church.
And how long have you been in that area? How long?
18 years, 19 years, right? Wise Theological School, year 2, in 1993 to 96. I got it in 96, but while I was at West, around 1995, I was looking to go and do my internship. Living in First Caledonia, by Mover Junction there. And the Lord said, why go and do your internship somewhere else? And in your area, there's a gang moved in my area around the corner. And that time, remember, the Muslim just came out to the amnesty, and gang activity started, and warfare. And then there was a gang around the corner by me, and that started to escalate. First Caledonia warring against second. And the Lord said, why not start in your way? So this is how we started with Sunday school. And then I started church in my compound where I live. And then I just started to get that kind of militant way. And as time went by, I realized the gang activities started to escalate. And I went to Pastor Agard, my friend, and I said, Pastor Agard, we need to do something. And he instituted a church in the Rockland movement. And we called a meeting with all the pastors in the Laventille area. And we just start saying, okay, let's hit the communities. And that is how we started. And then I felt, look, I need to go on the air. I went to 98.1, and I felt, let me tackle this thing from the airwaves by just prophesying and bringing positive things towards Move Lavington, nothing negative. And we have been there for about 12 years. And more you hear people get killed, it's more we keep declaring over the airwaves positiveness. And after having fought in these communities, it built up within me a sort of internal fight as a kingdom people. We would have gone in, and I thank God for my wife. She's not here. Right now we're in church. We started a homework center. She's involved in that as we pass across with Pentecostal. But I thank God for the woman that my wife is. That we have gone into Beetham Gardens, Helots. We have gone into a lot of tough areas, and I've seen, honestly speaking, specifically if I had to point out, there's an area called Monripo Never Dirty. Young men were warring and killing out each other. And if you know where that area is, they walk over by Movement there, right? On the right, you go into that area, Monripo Never Dirty.
Okay.
And they were actually killing out each other. And God just spoke to me and said, get the church. And we called whosoever wanted to join. And for 3 weeks, we spent there. Deceased Hal Graves, which is known as Roy. He came with his interactive team and joined us, and we spent 3 weekends there. And to be honest, we had a prayer walk. We played cricket with them. We had a rally. And they have never been the same up to today.
You know what? You're saying all of this, and it's something that I mentioned to another pastor recently. And I'm a member of the media, and we are guilty, and I see the media as a national body. You're saying all that there, and I'm asking myself how much of that was highlighted in the media.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not just saying that because of where I said today. I said the same thing when I went to TV, and I said the same thing before.
Yeah.
And even though you will try to get these things highlighted, you don't. Because, like with Silas, for example, recently,
yes.
and I guess we could weigh in on that briefly, because I know you would have been in those areas as well.
Yeah, we traverse those areas.
I remember we did some work evangelism in that area, and there are some gifted people there, but you don't hear, unless Pastor Raymond O'Keel or somebody else highlights the work that they do on social media, you'll never hear about it. I don't know, I mean, is this a challenge you'll have had in terms of getting the media to...
Well, we would have tried. I remember there was this, there's this sister who's in the media arena, Sister Susan Shepherd.
No, very well.
Right? And Newsday at that time. And she would have, given us a column and so on. And because we tried to see if we could incorporate these, so we could highlight. I remember there's this particular community, Pelican Extension. Have you heard about it? Yeah. Right. That area, we would have spent about...
Some parts I'm over pretty.
Right. We would have spent 3 years in that area. Anytime you pass through Pelican Extension, there's a Seventh-day Church on the hill on the left. Look on the right in the whole eye, there is a plain field. Electrical poles with lights and so on. We did that. Nice. We took that as an initiative, and being a qualified electrician, I worked with the community. I got the church to buy in. Then public utility help us, and we work. The community came out and they work, and I showed them what to do, and we limed and thing, and we covered the pavilion, and we handed it over to regional corporation to maintain.
Wow.
So we worked with that community. And in fact, those guys would say, sometimes it's a pastor, they stop me, we want to have a crusade. Go and have a crusade, people get saved. Yeah, we interact, we play football with them.
So they ask you to have a...
Yeah. So this is what the church needs to do. The church needs to interact. So I thank God for these, having worked within these communities. And I'm saying I'm very much positive. Now we're in Crossroads, Princestown. I'm very much positive. After you would have fought with lion and bear, who's just uncircumcised for this time? I'll tell people, people ask me some things about, fasting and, different ones and things. I say, hello. If you passed in Move Lavington, you could pass it anywhere else.
No, because again, everyone will have the different parts of the vineyard that God will send you. And there's some people that say, some areas just not me, but if he sent me, I had to go. You can't run.
I mean, we have gone through places where I love my pastors and leaders. Some leaders will pray for you, brother, when they ain't coming. I mean, tough areas.
But it's needed. Yeah. With Silas recently, I know that is, again, close to your heart as well.
Yeah, well, I know about our brother Pastor O'Keel is down there.
We spoke, and
it's the heart of the thing, so we got to pray for him. And there's another church. They were part of the network, would have network with us on the other side, which is Bible Way.
Okay.
They have a church there too. Tough areas. I remember some years ago when a particular person drove into some people down by the market there, and that would cause the whole idea for them to put up the walkover and kill some people from Sealots. Right, we went in there, and we had your pastor was there too, Austin. Pastor Dusty, yeah. And we spent about the whole week in Sealots. Hey, that was a culture shock for me inside. Hundreds of people in the streets. People smoking, well, you know what? I've never seen gold chain like that. Oh, wow, boy. But it was a culture, and we interacted with the people. Yeah. So it just tells how the church has to be. You know, the church is not just only having a good time inside. The church must be able to interact and affect its surroundings.
And that is where some churches, unfortunately, have not been able to connect with their communities. And as you rightly said, I think everything's happening right now, from the accident in Charleville to the Sealer situation.
Yeah, the Sealers.
It's all God saying, come out from the walls. People are hurting, you know?
Yeah. So we have a great responsibility to ensure that God's will being fulfilled to its fullest in our nation. God said Trinidad and Tobago is a great nation. We are a beacon to the Caribbean. But just like God told Joshua, I've given you the land. Anywhere you put your foot shall be yours. If you don't put your foot, son, hard luck. Whoever put their foot, they will get it.
And if the forces of darkness...
If the forces of darkness with the foot, it's not God's fault. So that's why you and I as a church, we have to understand the mind of God. And don't just sit down and work. Go on, wrestle, fight. Just like in my church in where I pastor now, Crossroad, we launched our 2019 theme, which is on the road. I'm saying we're taking it to the communities. We on the road.